Just a couple of guys, a couple of microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, know-it-alls? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know show.
Yeah.
We are ready to go, locked and loaded. Let's have it. What are we going on?
What we got going on? It's the trade deadline just happened here, Joe. 4 p.m. on Tuesday, and a lot of stuff went down. We were watching that. Waiting, looking at our phones too, looking for the updates all day. Nothing was really going on. It was pretty quiet. And then all of a sudden around 2 o'clock, everything hit, Joe. But still, some of the teams that we heard rumors about that were maybe going to trade still didn't pull the trigger on some of those. And you're hearing now afterwards, after some press conferences, that now some of maybe the dealings they were trying to work out here was just too steep of a deal for them and wasn't going to work out for them. Like you hear with Joe Schoen and the Giants not pulling the trigger on anything. They're in talks, but again, it was too much to give up, they felt at this point, for where they are as a franchise too, that they didn't want to surrender so many draft picks or even money for that much too for some of these guys. So, and they just picked up one of the former Buffalo Bills here off of waivers here. Let's see, there's another guy that nobody used that maybe they're going to try out and see if he can do something with this terrible wide receiving core of the Giants. But a lot of big headlines here on trade day, Joe. What do you think about it so far?
I mean, it was to be expected in a sense. I didn't think as many trades would happen, but it was pretty insane. The last, the final hour leading up to the deadline, it seemed like everybody was calling everybody and trying to get some kind of a deal done. I mean, and some trades we never expected to even happen just happened. So, I mean, think about like the Lions trade. I never thought for 1 second the Lions would even consider trading their tight end, TJ Hockenson. And that to me right there was a big surprise. I mean, a Pro Bowl tight end, and you just and it's not like you can't utilize that kind of a weapon, but man, you just gave him up and said, yeah, sure, we're going to deal him. And all they did was swap draft picks. They didn't even get any kind of crazy compensation or anything. So that was a surprise to me. Another one is I kind of expected it. Like, we all knew that, like, the Denver Broncos were trying to trade Bradley Chubb, and they were trying to do that last year even. But finally, like, this year was the year to get rid of him, and they managed to come to an agreement with the Dolphins of all teams, who do actually believe that they can not only win more games now that Tua's healthy again, but also they're banking on maybe even possibly beating and winning in this division. They got a very steep hill to climb, but to catch up to the Bills. But they think they can do it. They think they can pull it off. With a trade like this, that just goes to show you that they're like, hey, let's grab another piece for this team, and let's see how far we can go.
Absolutely. And first, you talked about the Lions and the Vikings trade. Let's bring that up here quick again. Like you said, T.J. Hockenson there in a 2023 fourth-rounder, and they get a conditional fourth-round pick. They do that too as well for the 2023 second round and a 2024 third round pick for the Vikings. And that's what's funny with the Lions. I get they're even trying to, maybe we're saying rebuilding right now. This is a young team trying to figure things out, and picks might be valuable to you right now, but the one major thing that's just looking at me is you just traded to a rival too. So you just made a rival in your division better, like, just like that. Like, that doesn't usually happen, Joe. You don't usually trade with your rival. You want to find somebody else that is that can help you in even the AFC or something like that. In the opposite, different conference, even something that you have ties to. Nowhere, not your rival. You know what I'm saying? You want to pull those guys away from those types of teams, and instead you give them to them and you take their pick or whatever it might be. And if you look at the Vikings right now and what they're looking at with five, they have one loss, 5-1 right now.
Six
I don't think they didn't play last week, so they're going to play this week. So they're 5-1, I think, right now currently. Maybe
we're going into week 9.
Oh, yeah, 6-1. I don't know, whatever their record is.
6-1,
Yeah,
I think.
6-1. But the picks aren't going to look very good though, still, because they're going to be probably further on as long as they make it further down in the playoffs. So right now they're looking pretty terrible for you.
I mean, the thing is the Vikings to pull this off. Listen, we all know Irv Smith Jr. He's hurt, so he's going to miss some significant time. I don't know if it's like season ending, but since that's going to happen, it's kind of going to derail their offense a little bit. They needed someone to come in and step in and play right away. This is not only, I think this is a great move by the Vikings, more than
absolutely.
the Lions, because they're bringing in another young, proven tight end. It's not too often where you are able to obtain talent like that, where not only are they good at their job, but they're also younger. And if you're able to do that and not give up too much in compensation, that's a huge win. So for the Vikings to be able to bring in TJ Hawkinson, this is a guy that can do everything. He can block for them. He can receive passes for them. And it's a bigger deal than Irv Smith. Irv Smith, I've always kind of seen him as just a receiving threat. Whereas TJ Hawkinson is a very good blocker, can also get out there in space and catch some touchdowns from you. And this is a thing where they're not going to skip a beat. I guess that's the whole moral of the story, is because the Vikings didn't want to, mess anything up offensively in terms of missing out on a player. Now they where a weakness once was with Irv Smith being out, now they just kind of fill that need, and they can still continue to do what they got to do.
Absolutely. We got Paul Matty in the house with us tonight.
What's going on, Paul?
He says, do you guys have badass intro music? I think we do. I mean, we have Down Monday who does our intro music.
That's right.
It's all original music just from them.
A local band.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like it pretty good. But, I mean, do you have something in mind, Paul? You know somebody that even does something else? You're trying to suggest something?
Are you trying to sell us?
Maybe. What do you got? You got some badass music kicking around down there in Playa Linda Beach, Florida? You just said sweet. All right, excellent. Yeah, check it out, man. I edited it myself too, so I mean, I had a lot of fun with it. But we love John and Down Monday down there. And again, I don't think we ever thank them enough of letting us use their music. And stuff like that.
Not
and
at
it's
all.
awesome. And
Yeah,
they're
we definitely
really cool
do appreciate it.
You can check them out on iTunes. So look up Down Monday, check them out on iTunes, and listen ahead to some of their music. And it's amazing. The track that we use for our intro is called "I Know," which is kind of fitting. Too,
I know.
Within
Know-it-alls. I know. Yeah.
Yep.
All
So
works.
yeah, what do you think about some of these trades, Paul? We got the Hawkinson trade we're talking about. He says tequila and tuna for dinner tonight. Ooh, interesting. Man, that's got a lot of bite to it.
How is
sounds
that
like.
combination going to work?
Imagine that. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, right? Yeah,
You
interesting.
are a very courageous man.
Talk about things that mix together and stuff like that. And dinners. So we were at 6:05 on was
man.
it Sunday? For
Yeah.
the Giants game and stuff. And it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. Met a lot of different people. Hung out with Dion Lewis again, and ate some good food too. On top of it, again, the food there is amazing. It's a global menu all over the place. So we try something new every time we go there.
That's
Joe,
right.
And it's always amazing.
Yeah, we had what were they? They were what?
It was poke tuna like nachos
Yeah,
or something.
poke
Those-
tuna nachos.
they
Yeah,
were
that
awesome.
was amazing.
Yeah, buddy.
It was really good.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we got some more planned for you guys too. So you guys stick tight too. We'll let you know whenever we're going live at another location. Unfortunately, everybody out there who's like Paul, who lives in Florida, you can't come hang out with us and do that unless you fly. If you want to come,
Unless
do
you're in
that,
town.
But
If you're in
definitely,
town.
check us out on the live stream though. We got to interview Dion too after our live show, and that was a lot of fun. And talking about a cause that was dear to his heart too, and he's part of like a Big Brothers system and stuff, and he's looking to be the champion or something like that too. So. We'll keep close eye on that. Paul Matty says the Claypool trade caught me off guard, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that because this is a young wide receiver that is on the with the Steelers. What they had, I mean, think about it. They just gave a lot of money to Deontay Johnson, who honestly has not performed up to that kind of a contract. He has had his fair shares of drops once again this season. So to just kind of let go of Chase Claypool, who's not only a younger guy but also a guy who's been like your big play type of receiver that's in that rotation. Chase Claypool, like I'm surprised. Listen, I will say this: a lot of people are also kind of debating the fact, like, is he really worth a second rounder? You know, because that is kind of some steep compensation for a wide receiver that isn't really, you know, you like him. He's good, but he's not elite. He's not anything, you know, super special. So
He's
I'm
not
just
as good as
curious.
even that his attitude seems like, you know, that comes along with that he thinks he is. You know what I'm saying?
No, everybody's got that. You got to have. You
To a
have to
certain
have
extent,
that kind of a ego when you're playing receiver, when you're playing corner. You have to. You got to have confidence in your abilities. And for Chase Claypool going to the Bears, I don't know. Is it a good fit? I'm not really sure. He's not a guy that's gonna, you know, take the roof off the top of a defense, but he is a guy who has tremendous size and speed. To go with it, so he could be a dangerous weapon. I look for him to maybe even play in the slot. You know, they have Darnell Mooney out there, so and that's their number one guy, their big play guy. But Chase Claypool now, he kind of fits a different mold for Chicago, a more physical type of mold at receiver. Where I hope to God that they use him correctly in that offense because it's going to help Justin Fields be able to trust in a lot more weapons than they didn't have before.
Yeah, I think if they use them more like the way Pittsburgh did with when Ben Roethlisberger was there and stuff like that. Again, like you said, sometimes he could get physical and then beat you with some of that speed too as well, and some of those big plays for you that can get that chunk of yards for you guys when this offense is stalling. You know, but right now the Bears even offensively look like they're starting to get some things together. So adding Chase Claypool like that, I think is a good addition. But like you said, even I still think maybe a second rounder is a bit steep for that. And it's very interesting that they decided to sell away some of their top defenders, but then go ahead and bring in a wide receiver talent too. But maybe that's what they think so much about the wide receiver crew coming out in this draft or something like that they couldn't get a guy in the second round and something good as Chase Claypool or
no, I don't think that at all. I think this is an asset that they believe that fits not only really well in their offense, but also a guy that they might have been looking at in the draft and just couldn't get. So now that they're able to obtain him, they bring him in, and he's going to grow. Like, he's still young to the point where, like, he's going to grow with this offense with Justin Fields. The more and more chemistry that they build and the more comfortability that they get with each other, it's going to show up on the football field. So I think this is a good move for the Bears. Compensation-wise, I'm not really crazy about it. But, again, all in all, I think this is a decent move for the Bears. And let's see what they can do. Like, they just got him this week, so he is going to be out there. But I feel like it's going to be a limited fashion. He's going to be basically on a pitch count. You know, because he doesn't really know the whole offense, doesn't know everything in that offensively for them. So he might get a little bit of a pitch count, be out there at least, and contribute a little bit. But until he kind of nails down the offense, whatever, that's when you're going to start to see the offense kind of change for them.
All right, Paul Matty says Tomlin better make some trades to try stop that shit show in Pittsburgh. Well, trade deadline's over, so he can't really make any trades now. Now it's all up to free agency and waiver wires, what he could do there. But you know, it's so bad in Pittsburgh now. They've never seen again this type of losing before. You know, like we talked about
Not
it.
since Mike Tomlin.
I know I did. In the offseason a lot again because what if Pittsburgh ends up finishing last in the division? They haven't done it since the '80s, since even Tomlin's been there. Even some of the other, not a lot of coaching turnover, a winning franchise. So when this happens, what's the fans going to do? Are they going to freak out and stuff like that? And so much so that you heard even Terry Bradshaw come out and say that he doesn't think that Mike Tomlin's a very good coach at all. And he never thought that, I guess, apparently. No. So now he's coming out. But when would he ever openly say that? He didn't say that before.
Well, no, you're not going to.
And things like that. But
you're not going
he's saying
to.
it now. And now
none of that comes out.
I think and that it's just that he's a good cheerleader type of guy or locker room guy, but overall he just thinks he's not a good coach at all, and that kind of brings up to the fact that we had talked about that how good is he, and when will even a hot seat happen possibly for him if they do decide that maybe they want to move on from him?
But that's the thing too, is like, you know, I know when we were talking about Mike Tomlin and his coaching and what's going to happen with this transition with Big Ben leaving the Steelers, are they going to be able to kind of sustain that kind of a loss? But I agree. Like I've said this numerous times that I don't believe Mike Tomlin is as good as his personnel. He is a player's coach. He's not an X's and O's guy. He's a no-nonsense football coach. However, he's not the brains of the operation. So he is a very good head coach, don't get me wrong, in terms of relating to the players, in terms of being very decisive and owning any kind of mistakes that he does. But really, a lot of the success that Mike Tomlin has sustained with that team, it's been they've had really good football teams assembled, you know, and for quite some time, with Big Ben being in there for most of his career and having that continuity at quarterback kind of helped out the Steelers also going forward with adding more talent whenever they needed it. Like this is a team that's been seen as one of the best franchises to find wide receiver talent, so that really wasn't a concern. But they've always been that blue-collar, rugged, tough type of football team where they had some good offensive lines, you know, all through Tomlin's tenure. They've also had some great defenses. So, I mean, all that kind of plays a part into Tomlin's, I guess you would call it his era as a Steelers coach. And now we're starting to see where we're turning the corner with Pittsburgh, where everything is changing. Everything. Big Ben retires. You don't really have an answer at quarterback. You were kind of forced to maybe pick a quarterback this past draft. You end up getting Pickett, which, you know, Jim, I'm not a huge fan of. I don't think he's going to be the long-lasting solution. And we're seeing, I understand it's his rookie year, so let's wait and see what happens 3 years down the road for him. But as of right now, it doesn't look very good. He's made some plays, but also has turned the ball over too many times in my eyes. So let's see going forward what he can do with a whole offseason and whatnot. But the offensive line needs to be improved again.
Yeah.
The receivers, now you basically traded away Chase Claypool. Now that's a problem. Now you need to find someone to fill his shoes. And also defensively, they have TJ Watt, and they've kind of been leaning heavily on TJ Watt's back to like make a lot of plays and keep this defense relevant. They have a good defense, but you can see that there are spots in this defense where they're getting weaker, and they need to revitalize that side of the ball. Mm-hmm. So let's see what they can do with this offseason.
Yeah, definitely. Paul Matty says Tomlin has only won three playoff games in the last 11 years, 0 playoff wins in the last 5 years. He's a good coach, but not a great coach.
I agree.
We got Brandon Degener, I think is how you say it. I'm sorry if I butchered it. I apologize.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome to the show. He said the hot seat already happened for him. Ben was hurt. Pittsburgh was a 500 team with Devin Duck Hodgins, and Mason Rudolph. Yeah, absolutely. He goes, granted, the defense was winning games, but Tomlin isn't the issue.
You're right. Yeah.
Pittsburgh drafts well. Filling Claypool's shoes isn't an issue. Rehabbing the offensive line is the biggest problem. Exactly. I think so, too, because, again, they do well with wide receivers. And I think this year especially, I don't know if it just he doesn't have a, familiarity, or connection with Chase Claypool, but it did seem like Kenny Pickett was really getting him involved. in the game.
Because it does go by who you're practicing with.
Right.
Remember that.
Right.
So Mitch Trubisky was the starter coming in. So he was playing with all the ones. So Chase Claypool's a one. Deontay Johnson was a number one. But what Pickett was playing with was guys that were like, the second tier guys. You know what I mean? So he didn't have as much chemistry with the ones as he did with like maybe the twos or threes. So when he does now get the chance to start, maybe that chemistry, you can see it on the football field, just wasn't there. They weren't reading the same thing together. And that's kind of what leads into maybe some of the decisions, maybe some of the picks, maybe some of the incomplete passes. But this team right now they are basically in rebuild mode. I mean, let's just say what it is. Listen, they do have good players. I'm not saying that they don't. They have good players, but they need to kind of bring back what they once had. They used to be called the Steel Curtain, and that defense was amazing. You know what I mean? That was kind of like the backbone of the team, and they relied on that a lot. But now it looks like you're going to have to kind of change over this offensive line. Definitely needs to be improved. And I don't think it's a hard thing for the Steelers to find more wide receiver talent. Obviously, they're very good at that. But going forward, also, they've gone through some changes with the coaching staff. The offensive coordinators have changed. You know what I mean? There's been some changes with that staff as well. So it all goes hand in hand. Are the Steelers, next offseason, maybe the offseason after that, like we have to see how they can kind of get back to the team that we recognize. Because right now they are down. They're not playing on all cylinders. They're not making a lot of plays, but it comes with time too. Whenever, especially when you lose a guy like Big Ben, who's been there for so long, has done it so well for so long, that's a big change. And if you don't have a backup plan before your starting quarterback for 10+ years leaves, then it's it just happens just like that. The ball drops. So
taking on technical.
So that way,
issues.
yeah. So for the Steelers, like, listen, let's see what they can do. They still got the second half of the season. I'm not saying that they're going to turn around all of a sudden and make something happen, but it looks like the Steelers, for the first time in a very long time, is on a downhill turn.
Yeah, a little bit. And then if you just even want to say, we brought up a point before, like, you know who you practice with. George Pickens right now, you're seeing an emerging star with him, and that's why I think Chase Claypool is kind of off to the wayside. George Pickens looks like this guy that Pickett really trusts, and he's making some of those spectacular catches already, and people love it. So
and that's the reason
easy to walk away.
But the reason is because of the chemistry that they built. He was a rookie, and he was playing with Pickett. So, and that's the other thing too is, you could see, they have more confidence in George Pickens. He's making great plays, great catches, what have you. But it takes more than two receivers to make it work. So definitely, let's see what they have in store. Who knows? Maybe there's an up and coming receiver that they really love, and that's why they made the deal too.
All right, here's Brandon. Why don't you read what Brandon says here?
Hey, Brandon, what's going on? He says, play Jalen Warren more, trade Najee White.
No.
What was it? Trade
Najee while he has value.
While he has value, and get a line. Rebuild for Steeler fans is difficult after 18 years of no losing. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a very long history for the Steelers of not only just being a competitive team, but also winning a lot of games, making numerous playoff appearances. So for the Steeler fans, for a lot of Steeler fans growing up in those years, in those 18 years, it's shock. It's like, what the hell is happening? What's the next step? Where are we going? But yeah, you're right. You're right on it. I don't think they would trade Najee necessarily. I mean, because he is a workhorse back, and he's their style of running back. I do like Jalen Warren, though. I've seen some glimpses of him, what he can do, a very physical back that the Steelers like as well. But you need more than one, because you never know if Najee Harris goes down with an injury, you got Jalen Warren in your back pocket, and you're on the roll. But yeah, it's going to take time. I mean, let's see what kind of decisions that this team makes going forward. That's really what it's about. Can Pickett get better and improve his game for the next two off seasons? You know what I mean? That's really what it's going to kind of where the focus has to be is, can Pickett improve his game for the next 2 years? And let's see, after the third year, let's see what happens with him. Is he going to be the answer, or are they going to see enough to the point where they're going to be like, yeah, we need to go a different direction? Because if Pickett is the guy, if he ends up panning out, then that is a huge win for the Steelers, because quarterback is the hardest position to find, that franchise type of quarterback. So
yeah, that's why they've been sitting there for the last couple of years, hanging on to Ben Roethlisberger, coming back, because the guys that they had drafted, like Mason Rudolph and such, it hasn't really worked out for them. So they've been trying to figure it out in the long run.
To be fair, they were never considered high-end quarterbacks coming out that were going. They believe that by drafting those guys in the middle, maybe second round or so, that they were going to be able to develop them to be starters.
Yep.
But it doesn't. It's so hard to find those guys, and it's very rare that you do. So going forward for them, it's going to be as simple as this: is Pickett really the guy? And if not, you're gonna have to take another couple steps backwards again and try to find the quarterback in the future.
Absolutely. So there you go. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. We don't really talk about the Pittsburgh
Brandon,
Steelers
thanks for
this
tuning
much,
in,
so
buddy.
much, especially even about maybe struggles or woes that they're having. So imagine that. But keeping on with the Chicago Bears here, earlier too, before the deadline, Roquan Smith was traded too, and that's the funny thing with that name. Like that was kind of the rumors that were going around the rumor mill here that he was going to be traded, and then we heard. That Robert Quinn was traded first, and he goes to the Eagles. But now, when it got closer to the trade deadline, here you go. Roquan Smith now out, traded to the Ravens now for A.J. Klein and 2023 second and fifth round pick here. So now the Ravens again looking to help up that linebacking core here of their defense to help keep them in some of these games. And I think again that's where they're trying to build for the playoffs here and kind of be that team where the defense can really keep them in it, because it seems like sometimes that offense stalls out and they get a big lead or whatever, but then, they kind of can't make it and teams fought back on them and were able to come back like the Giants game and beat them. So this is trying to solidify that defense up there for them. Roquan Smith, one of the leading tacklers in the NFL right now.
Was the leading tackler.
Yep.
Still is.
Mm-hmm. And there you go. And so, so a big addition for them. And again, this happened right before the Chase Claypool thing. So you're thinking, again, Robert Quinn gone, Roquan Smith now gone, that they were just an absolute, it's rebuild and collect picks. And then they go and get a wide receiver here. So, again, maybe the questions was that we'll get the offense right now. We'll see what we got out of them, and then defense we'll work on.
Well, honestly, those two decisions were business decisions. Mm-hmm. They already knew Robert Quinn wasn't gonna. They when they made that decision to trade Robert Quinn away, Roquan Smith was very close with Robert Quinn, and they already knew that Roquan wanted to be traded. He doesn't want to stay there, and because he's coming up on a contract year, they're like, we're not going to be able to afford to keep him, let alone does not even want to be here. So Quinn gets traded. Boom. That kind of like started the chains of events. And then wouldn't you know it, right before the trade deadline, Roquan Smith ends up getting traded. So, for that trade, can we just call it what it is? And it's an absolute steal. I mean, for a second and a fifth round pick, basically, to me, like fifth round picks are important, because that's usually kind of like around that range is when you can find some real talent, real gems that may be able to start for you in the future. But maybe it's just the second round pick. That's all you had to give up. Nobody had to give up a first round pick or a first round pick and some extra picks tag along with it. That's what's crazy to me. Like, basically, you just gave up a second rounder and like one of those fifth rounders we'll throw away. So this is a bargain. I mean, for the Ravens, are you kidding me? For them to add a player of his caliber, Roquan Smith, you add him to this already kind of young, influxed defense that's really hammering offenses. Now you add a weapon like Roquan Smith to this group with Patrick Queen, an outside linebacker, with these studs at corners with Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey, and wow, this defense is getting scarier now. Like, now you just added a premier linebacker that is Roquan Smith, and this defense is exciting, especially if you're a fantasy owner, because I have the Ravens defense, and now I'm really happy. But yeah, this defense was already good. Now it just got even better. So great thing for the Ravens, and this is maybe this is also a piece, like usually when teams make these trades leading up to the trade deadline, usually there's a couple reasons why they make these trades. Is because, one, if you're a competitive team, if you're in the playoff race, you know what I mean? Or if you believe that if we add another talent, just another piece that we could use, it puts you over the top. So this is a move by the Ravens where they think by adding Roquan Smith, not only does it make their defense more dangerous, but also this could be a move where this could help us get back in the division race and take it over.
Yeah, absolutely. Get them moving further and deeper into the playoffs again, where they end up struggling once they hit the playoffs. So that's what you want to do for them. And I think it's a big move for them. Absolutely. Chicago again, they're just whatever. So I mean, the the Ravens trying to move forward and make a deeper run against some of these AFC teams that are tough, that are tight right now. The Bills, the Chiefs still look elite here too out there for these guys in the AFC. So these are teams they got to be able to compete with. And when you're losing the games like to the Giants and the Jets and stuff like that, you got to figure something out. So they got to be able to keep with these other teams. But let's go to the AFC East here. And the trade that went down for them is the Miami Dolphins. Again, they go and get Bradley Chubb. You talked about it quick earlier on when we first started the show here. And it's including a 2025 fifth-round pick traded to the Broncos, or he's traded to I got that one wrong, to the Dolphins here for Chase Edmonds, and 2023 first-rounder and the 2024 fourth-round pick here. So, the Dolphins trying to help that defense out for them now, too. Tua's back. Seems like he's healthy. They're starting to play well again. Jalen Waddle going off last week, too. So trying to get this thing going in. And they take Chase Edmonds, who looked like there was going to be stepping out as their lead rusher guy right there, their guy. Yeah. And they're comfortable with now moving on from him, and bringing Bradley Chubb in here into that defense. But I'm wondering if, too, they had already been in talks with the 49ers because, they've got the relationship with each other from the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, obviously, there, too. They know their personnel that the 49ers, too, have as well. So they go and they're already maybe planning that Jeff Wilson trade because, shortly after this Bradley Chubb trade went down, the Jeff Wilson trade goes down. So now you fill that void that you had now with Chase Edmonds. Now you have Jeff Wilson in there who looks like maybe that could be your true starter because if you had, Chase Edmonds and he was your main rock runner that, Raheem Mostert, those guys maybe just weren't getting it done for you and those weren't your guy.
They were doing like a running back by committee approach. So Chase Edmonds, who probably before the season started, they did believe maybe he could be he's our starter going forward. And then when they got into the season, they started to feel out all these different running backs. Remember, Mostert was coming back from yet another injury, so he wasn't able to play right away. And then when he got healthy, you started to notice where all the backs were getting some play. All the backs were getting some touches. So right there is kind of where they kind of figured out like, oh, well, we could get by without Edmonds. You know what I mean? We could. But then with the Wilson Jr. deal, they didn't expect him to be available, honestly, and from what you alluded to, like the Niners and the Dolphins and their relationship with Mike McDaniels and Kyle knowing each other and everything, it was a simple phone call. I mean, that's what it's like. Oh, I want Jeff. Get me Jeff Wilson right now because
you guys
now
have Christian McCaffrey now.
Not only does he know my offense, so it's a very easy transition for him, but also I like him. He's my type of guy. Go get me my type of guy. Now you got Jeff Wilson coming in to the Dolphins. Now what looks like, and what you would have to assume, right, when you pull off a trade like this, you assume that not only does he have a relationship with him, but also he's a really good running back. He was the starter at one point for the Niners, and now he's coming to the Dolphins. What's to say? It's almost a shoo-in. Like Jeff Wilson has to be the starter going forward for the Dolphins. And for I gotta say, like for Bradley Chubb for the Dolphins, and we knew that they were trying to trade him before a season ago. For the Broncos to get a first rounder, that to me is impressive. I don't know who was at the negotiation table, but I definitely wouldn't have given a first rounder up, let alone first rounder and what was it, a fourth or fifth or something?
Yeah. Yep,
so I would not give that up for a guy like Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb is overhyped. Bradley Chubb hasn't done much after Von Miller has gone. Von Miller was taking some of that pressure and protection away from Bradley Chubb, which kind of led to those sacks kind of tallying up for him. Then when Von Miller left, where's Chubb? What the hell is he doing? So for them to actually get a first rounder, let alone another pick after that, that's impressive. That's amazing. Yeah, so the Broncos all day long won that trade. So, I mean, for the Chubb the whole trade for Chubb going to the Dolphins, to me, it's kind of like underwhelming. I mean, you're not really, from what you gave up in compensation, Dolphins, you're not really going to get that return with Bradley Chubb. Yeah. I don't care. New defense. They feel like they can enhance his play. Like we've seen all the coaching staffs. They think about that. But I'm not really expecting too much from him as a Dolphin. So great job, Broncos. Dolphins, you kind of real reached on that.
All right, there you go. So next, let's move on to one of the other ones I think that was pretty big that happened here for the Buffalo Bills. The rich get richer here, and we've got Nyheim Hines now going to the Bills, and they get the Colts get Zach Moss in 2023 conditional round pick, and so that's big for them, right? I mean, look at the Bills. You heard the talks about them getting, Christian McCaffrey was in the trade, rumors and stuff like that, a few weeks ago that they were even still going to go for a running back, and it was kind of quiet here, but then all of a sudden on trade day, there it is, Nyheim Hines, and coming off, his big week again, like he played last week, and
was that a sales pitch or what?
Exactly, right? And I think that's what happens sometimes to some of these trade talks here. It's like, oh, here we go, strike while the iron's hot. This guy's, he's always been that workhorse for them. When you had Marlon Mack and he was getting injured all the time, things like that.
Yeah, at times he would
filling in for Jonathan Taylor too. I mean, he's been that steady kind of B guy for you. And that's kind of what the Buffalo Bills need right now, that little extra guy, on the other side of Singletary and stuff. You've got him there, and they're, don't need to change a whole lot, with the Bills. We talk about the depth that they've got. A lot of depth, super power right now in the NFL, and they just add that little extra piece in that running game just to help it going. And maybe, just maybe, that it might alleviate some of that stress of their quarterback just taking off and running so much, maybe get a little more running. But I'm telling you, that scares the daylights out of me, because I think if you lose him, I think they don't go as far then.
I'm not worried at all about Josh Allen, because the size of that he is, and that's the bigger deal. Like, not only is he fast and mobile and all that, but he's got the size to hit. He's as big as a linebacker, So I mean, I'm not really worried about that. If there was a question of durability in college or something like that, then you could be concerned. But because of his stature, because of the way he runs and everything, I have no worries about that. But as far as the trade goes, you mentioned the rich get richer, which it's obviously so true. Like, Nyheim Hines is a very gifted running back who's been with the Colts since he's entered the league, and when he's given the opportunity, he's done a phenomenal job, whether it be catching out of the backfield or running between the tackles. This is a team that just got richer in the terms of the running backs in the backfield, because they drafted James Cook, who's kind of starting to take off now, whether it be passing game or running game.
Right.
So with his ascension now coming into the group, now you bring in Nyheim Hines. It's like no matter who you put in, Devin Singletary, Nyheim Hines, James Cook, it doesn't get any easier. So the Bills did a tremendous job with this, and to not give up hardly anything in compensation, I mean, this is just a huge win for the Bills.
Yeah, and they're multifaceted too. I mean, not just like one guy is just a ground and pound guy. This guy is just a receiving threat. They can do it all, and that's the thing. You saw a little bit of what James Cook was doing last week too, not even just running, but in the receiving, getting open and making some plays. So, I mean, same thing. You could say same thing with Nyheim Hines too. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting for these guys going forward, and I can't wait to see some of these big matchups here now with the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. So it's going to be cool.
Definitely.
All right, so, I mean, we talked about some of the big trades that went down, but there was also some lackluster ones, I feel, for some, and then some that are getting head scratchers that never really happened for teams that really probably needed to do something. But before we get into that, I'm going to tell you guys about my friends at Paul Perry Kitchens, one of our sponsors that takes care of us here on Freeman's Bridge Road. Joe, now's the best time to go check them out right now, because they are remodeling in the one location. They have two locations on Freeman's Bridge Road, one at 144 Freeman's Bridge, but now they're both at 115 right now while they're doing some remodeling, so you can catch them all. Not only the custom closets, glass repair, screen repair, custom showers too as well, but now your custom kitchen too. So you can do the kitchen first, go in there and like, hey honey, I think we got some left over from the savings by going to this place. You want a custom closet too over here? Let's kick it in there. California closet, let's get it done. And you can do it all right there. Just talk to one of their expert designers here. They'll point you in the right direction and design the perfect type of kitchen or closet that you want. Just check them out there on paulperrykitchens.com or right there at 115 Freeman's Bridge Road, Paul Perry Kitchens. There you go.
Yeah, and if you're new to the show, do us a favor, help us out over on YouTube, our YouTube channel. Listen, be in the know, become a know-it-all. Head over to YouTube, search us up, Football on the Know Show. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you guys know we go live. And if YouTube's not your thing, that's okay. You can just come right here on Facebook, become a member, become a know-it-all. And anywhere you get your podcasts, yes, that's right. You can take us with you there, too. So iTunes, Spotify, you name it, we're there. Hit the follow us, and become an interactive know-it-all.
Nice, definitely. But yeah, so when I alluded to before, I was like, what do you think about the Jacksonville Jaguars going for Calvin Ridley? Like a guy who's suspended right now for gambling and things. And before that, took time off to help his mental status here. Not even again right now. So again, that's like an investment to try and make, and from a guy that's been sitting for a while too.
It's tough. I mean, I'm not worried about him sitting. He's just got more rest.
Yeah.
But my concern is mentally. Like, there's no way you can talk to a player if he's not on your roster. So this trade is kind of a blind trade, and in hopes of him coming back refreshed, rejuvenated, and ready to go and play football and be serious about the game again. You just hope, as a Jaguars fan, as a Jaguars staff, that you hope by pulling this trade off. Is he a tremendous player? Yes, he's a tremendous player. I mean, when before the mental status and what have you, he was seen as one of those top 10 type of receivers. So you're getting yourself a very good receiver. However, where's his mind at right now? Is he getting better? Is he already better? Like, is he, you know what I mean? Can he not wait to get back on the field again? Like, that's the kind of thing that you don't really know with this type of trade. Very uncertain. And for the Jaguars, it's a great trade if it works out. But if it doesn't work out because of whatever happens mentally or just lost love for the game or something like that, like, then it's a really bad trade. Because did you do your due diligence? Did you do enough homework before you made this trade? I hope they did, because it's all precedented on what happens after when you get him possibly next year. We don't even know when he's coming back. That's the other big thing.
Yeah,
so is he coming back next season?
Right.
We don't know. The NFL has to reinstate him. So hopefully it's the offseason after this season concludes. But that's something that we kind of have to wait and see on.
Well, that's what I thought was strange about it. I was like, why not they wait and see until the offseason and then just do it then? Like, why during this season, like right before the trade deadline? Like, he's going to have an effect on this season.
No, it doesn't have an effect on this season.
Right.
However, they probably got him cheap.
Yeah,
for this.
That's the one thing I was thinking about. Maybe the cheapest again. So maybe something happens.
It's just like
Odell.
Odell.
Ends up,
it's just like Odell. It's not a trade, but Odell's out there on the market, right? And he's hoping to get $12 million a year, $13 million a year, a multi-year deal type of thing. But a lot of teams, and I'm almost positive that almost every team has called his agent and said, "Hey, what are you guys looking for?"
Yeah.
And they got a high number in mind, and teams are kind of like, nah, no one's going to pay that. So I feel like because of he's coming off yet another injury, and he is getting up there. He's 29, heading towards 30, to the point where teams are only going to be willing to give up a certain amount now because of your age. Even though when you're healthy, you are amazing on the football field, but can you sustain health? That's the biggest deal, and especially when you're getting closer to that 30 age limit for the NFL, it's very hard to stay healthy. And given his track record, it's not looking so good. So for teams that are interested in Odell, we've heard the Giants. We've heard the Rams are trying to bring him back, but we've also heard other teams are very interested in him, and I don't think it's going to be necessarily a bidding war, but I think it's going to be what's the best fit and what's the best deal for Odell. So, again, it's not a trade, but in a sense, with Ridley being mentally, you're not sure mentally where his head's at, and you make a trade like this blindly. With Odell, it's kind of like playing Russian roulette in a sense. Like, you're hoping he stays healthy when you do sign him for the rest of this year. And there's a lot of rumors. Even the Chiefs were brought up, saying the Chiefs were interested in signing him, and that's why they maybe cleared cap space from Travis Kelce's contract. So, again, a lot of uncertainty, but let's see where that ends too.
Some of the rumors too that happened too that maybe Kareem Hunt was going to be out there to maybe go. That made they felt again just with
Oh,
the
man,
way
yeah,
that
absolutely.
Nick Chubb has been their star guy, and you know
Absolutely.
it. But then also having Kareem Hunt there helps. But you kind of feel for the guy like we don't exactly need him. We're good with Chubb. Let's send him somewhere that maybe he can be that one type of running back for a team and help get them past where they need to go.
Right.
Just wondering now, was it just their asking price too much or something like that? Because you saw out of that whole thing, you thought maybe that scenario he probably would have been moved, but now he's still there. So what do you think was going on with that and with the Cleveland Browns and not being able to move him?
Honestly, I don't know what the Browns were expecting, and I think this is what they wanted. They weren't probably asking for a first round or anything, but they were hoping for like multiple picks. Like they were hoping for maybe like a third and a fifth, or a fourth and a sixth, and maybe a conditional seventh next year, something like that. But I don't think any team was willing to give that up. We've talked about this to exhaustion in a sense where, like, we've even talked to Dion Lewis when we were at Restaurant 605 about the value of the running back position and how it's diminished over time. And these running backs, as good as they might be or whatever, are not going to get $14 million a year or anything like that anymore. You're not going to get Adrian Peterson money where it was like $17 million a year. So those days are gone. And with that being said, that also kind of comes into play with draft picks when you're trading for a running back. Usually you're not going to have to give up that much. We've seen other veterans get traded for just a sixth rounder, and we're like, wait, he's a pretty good player. I know he's older, but Jesus. And so when you look at the running backs, maybe there wasn't anybody that was that was willing to give up that kind of compensation, and that's why they didn't want to release him yet, even knowing that he's going to be a free agent after this year. So why not get whatever you can and kind of get rid of the contract, get rid of, or at least some of the contract, and get rid of and get some compensation in return,
for him,
no matter what
you're
it
gonna
is.
Get nothing later. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
And maybe that's I don't know what they were asking
I'm shocked.
for. Possibly because
I'm
what
actually,
teams weren't willing to give up.
Yeah, I'm absolutely shocked that the Browns did not move him, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a few different things that some teams
and for
are
Kareem
shocked
Hunt,
about, but.
like honestly, he could. And I know he wants to start somewhere because that could be the other thing too. Is that there could have been a bunch of teams who were interested in bringing him in and saying, "Hey, you're gonna kind of do the same thing, split time with our featured back or something like that," and maybe that's something he didn't want to do. So there could have been a deal on the table.
Yeah, maybe. But
and then it just never worked out.
I don't know. Yeah, I know. It's definitely an interesting thing to look at and an interesting point because right now, I mean,
I'm excited, though.
Well, the Browns are looking forward to get Deshaun Watson back, so they're looking forward to do that. And
Week 13,
happy
everybody.
to get a win here against the Cincinnati Bengals here. That helps a little bit here, but they haven't really been doing a whole lot there with Jacoby Brissett back there. They've been relying on Nick Chubb in the running game very heavily to try and get things done. But that's what I think. That's what's strange about the whole Kareem Hunt thing, not being able to find a different place to go to. But again, we don't know.
I don't think it was a matter of didn't have a team interested enough to trade for him. I think it was just Cleveland's idea of thinking they could get higher compensation
that's what I
than
thought
what was
too.
available.
Right.
And just to quickly touch on it, Deshaun Watson, they've already kind of declared Week 13 is his return date. To take over as the Browns quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up running backs quick. Again, I've never heard so much than this past trade deadline. So many people willing, or not even just Cowboy fans, but some fans altogether, really putting out there like, let's trade Zeke now. Let's get rid of Zeke because the way Tony Pollard. He's been doing it the last couple of years. We've all known this. We've all watched it. We've seen it. We see the different moves, and things. And, Zeke's not the guy he kind of was before, but even Tony Pollard's just getting more explosive plays, and he's getting more play time, too, as it is. It's more like he's the feature back, and Zeke's just a little side piece here,
It's exactly what's happening because...
And, again, why not try and trade and get that compensation? Maybe people don't want to pick up that contract, too, and that's maybe the case here.
No,
maybe the Cowboys have tried to put it out there, and they can't find a partner because of that.
That's exactly what it is. Because, listen, nobody's paying any of these running backs huge money. I mean, the Cowboys kind of gave a lot of money to Zeke just to keep him there because they weren't really sure what they had in Tony Pollard
first before they paid Dak.
But the funny thing is Tony Pollard is your more efficient running back. And we kind of saw this even as Pollard as a back. The limited snaps that he got, he just looked more explosive. He looked like more of a difference maker. The running game and the passing game kind of opened up when he was given those opportunities. So when Zeke was in, everyone's like, oh, it's going to Zeke. We all just got to jam him up. But when Pollard was out there, there was kind of like a new sense of energy on the football field. I don't know if the offensive line kind of just got up for, got more excited for Tony Pollard versus Zeke or whatever, because Pollard looks like not only the more explosive athlete, but he's definitely getting more with less opportunities than Zeke was. So the Cowboys, they kind of saw this late, though. It's like this year, they're like, oh, light bulb went off, and they're like, oh, Pollard is amazing. We need to keep this kid. Well, guess what? He's going to be a free agent. And you can't trade Zeke because no one's going to take that contract. And honestly, I think Zeke is still a really good running back. There's no doubt about it. But when you're starting to notice you have a special player all along in your back pocket, and now you're on the brink of losing him, it's hard because you've already committed to Zeke all that money. No team is going to give up, even if it was like, oh, well, we'll take a 7th rounder just to get rid of the deal. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen. Teams do not want to pay that kind of money to a running back. And a lot of teams have already seen where you can be successful in either drafting a running back in the middle to late rounds and find one that way, or pick up one of these kind of unproven backs in free agency, and then they start to make a name for themselves. So you've seen points throughout the season where teams get these guys and they're like, where was this guy? We found this guy in the heap somewhere. And this guy's now developing to be a starter. So Tony Pollard, very tricky situation. I don't know how the Cowboys are going to end. They're going to try to keep him, but I think it's going to be a little more difficult than they think. So Tony Pollard also going to be out there in free agency. I don't see them using a franchise tag because it's a lot of money. Yeah. And honestly, you look at the future free agency crop. Running backs look like it's going to be crazy. Unless these teams find a way to kind of lock them in. Kareem Hunt will be a free agent. Tony Pollard will be a free agent. Right now, Josh Jacobs looks like he'll be a free agent unless a new deal gets agreed to. So that's 3 really good running backs that you could add to your team this upcoming free agency. So pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get ready for another wild offseason.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And one other thing I want to touch on, too, is the fact that Brandon Cooks is so unhappy that he wasn't traded.
I know.
From the Texans.
Yes.
How about that?
Yes.
He's on a losing team. He knows his career is further on. He's been on teams like the Rams and so on, so forth. A bunch of good, playoff contenders. And now he's stuck in this losing Texans team. And you figured he figured that maybe they'd help him out here and maybe trade him away, put him on somewhere that can help him out with the rest of his career, and he isn't moved. So now he's refused. Like, I'm not even gonna play. I'm not gonna do nothing. I'm so pissed off at you guys for not doing anything for me. So what do you think about that whole thing and the fact that they didn't trade away Brandon Cooks? And again, did they even try? And if they did, were they maybe asking too much too, and what they maybe thought was he was worth or so at this point in his career?
I know there were a couple teams that were very serious about trading for Brandon Cooks. The Rams actually were one of them. Mm-hmm. The Rams gave a phone call to Houston and said, "Hey, what do you want for him?" And I guess the phone conversation was a little steeper than the Rams thought that they were going to be able to acquire him for. I think they were asking for a first rounder, which I don't know how you can put that tag on Cooks now, especially being a little older now, especially a guy who really isn't seen or has never been seen as a elite type of receiver. So, yeah, a guy with a lot of speed and what have you. Good player, don't get me wrong, but never kind of really panned out in terms of where he was drafted in the first round. So to kind of ask for a first rounder, there's no way. I mean, I thought for sure Brandon Cooks is at the stage now where I think you could have given up maybe a 5th or 6th rounder to acquire him. But man, I definitely think that the Houston Texans were thinking about a higher value in terms of compensation.
Yeah, and if you look at his Twitter again, he's quoted here for saying, "Don't take a man's kindness for granted. Covered for the lies for too long. These days are done. Crossed the line with playing with my career." So there you go. He says right there, he's like, "Dude, you guys are just ruining my career now because I'm not able to try and go somewhere else and flourish."
Right.
And I don't know. Like, again, if I'm the Giants even too, I'm like, what did they ask? Because I would have said Brandon Cooks, we'll try it out right now. He's definitely number one compared to what we have now right now. I mean, when you got Richie James here and these other guys.
To be honest with you,
see them dropping the ball all over and everything.
To be honest with you, if the Giants were able to acquire Brandon Cooks and then you have Wan'Dale Robinson, who's kind of starting to come on strong as a rookie. And then on top of that, when you do get back Sterling Shepard from health, that's a nice little receiving core that you got going, and at least they can catch.
Yeah, right. Absolutely, right. I know. Unlike the guys in the last game here, it was pretty bad here for the Giants. But again, another team that didn't do anything, the Giants again. But again, Joe Shane already came out in a press conference, said, and talked to Dable, and we didn't see giving up what people were asking for these, so we didn't want to mortgage the future for just a guy for right now. For a team that's
correct.
They admittedly said that we're kind of playing better than what we were really expecting right now.
Yeah.
And we're in the process of still evaluating everybody, evaluating the talent that we do have on the roster and what we're going to do with them moving forward. I think the Jets, people wanted the Jets to try to move on some guys too and move forward too, but the Jets, I think, are the same kind of boat. They're at first, first couple of weeks were doom and gloom. Here we are, same old Jets again. Got on a winning streak, and then all of a sudden everybody wants to say, hey, we got to make a playoff run. Let's chill the hell out. Let's figure what you are. We still need to figure out what Zach Wilson is even right now. And a lot of people complaining about the roughing the passer call too. That was, that pick six, and where it's kind of screwed the Jets a little bit here for that game against the Patriots here and not winning. But again, turning the ball over. Every time we looked up at the screen there, we kept seeing the Patriots with the ball, Joe, and on a turnover here for Zach Wilson, and it just wasn't looking good for him. And he's just got to, again, go through the growing pains, and hopefully he can make a turn for the better here for them as their franchise quarterback, or else they're just like the Cleveland Browns where they were just searching for the next starting quarterback.
It would be really helpful if the Jets had an offensive line. I mean, honestly,
that helps
they
everything.
lost.
Look what Tom Brady's doing right now.
They lost two offensive linemen that were very important to that team, and Elijah Vera Tucker and Mekhi Becton. Once those two guys went down and are done for the season, that offensive line is now a sieve. It's terrible. I don't care who's behind it at quarterback. Even if Joe Flacco was there, who is a veteran and has seen it all and done it all, nobody can kind of take that on. Because constantly Zach Wilson had to use his legs to get out of the pocket, and it kind of led to bad mistakes and poor throws. So that team, I feel like now is going to struggle going forward. I understand. And then you also have the predicament of Elijah Moore wanting to be traded, and that never happened either. Now you have a disgruntled young receiver who does not want to be there because you're not even giving him the ball. So I don't understand offensively the philosophy that's happening in New York. And Robert Saleh, maybe he's going to have to speak to the offensive coordinator and try to get something going here, because when you're not utilizing one of your younger talents who last year kind of went off, he was very productive. When Jamison Crowder went out with an injury, Elijah Moore stepped in and really helped out that offense. So now you're kind of got a lot of rift going on with the offense, losing offensive linemen. Not a happy receiver because he's not getting the ball, and you didn't trade him at all either. Like, I feel like you could have got something decent for Elijah Moore, being a second-year receiver and with a lot to prove. I think they could have done well with that.
Yeah, I know some people that I talked to with Giants fans who are maybe going to get him stuff, but again, I'm done with that too. I mean, again, he's young and he's having an issue with not being able to play and stuff. Only second year in, which I can understand to an extent, but yeah, I think he's got to. We talked to Deion Lewis about this stuff because I asked him. When it was before the interview, I said, hey, man, I was looking maybe even to see what he thought maybe about Bill Belichick and that coaching staff or whatever, because I said, you're drafted by Philadelphia, and then you go to, nothing really happened to your career there. You go to the Patriots, and then all of a sudden your career started taking a step forward. What was it you think that was the difference between the two teams or that helped do that and stuff? He basically said maturity. I started to mature and things like that, and started to do more things for myself. And I think that with the Elijah Moore thing, I think he needs a little more maturity. I think moving forward here, it's one thing to complain you're not getting the ball here and there, but come on, bro. I mean, seriously, demand a trade already.
To be fair, if you're not going to be used in the offense at all, that's the problem.
That happens sometimes.
It's not.
What do you think?
Not about. It's not about him. It's not about him saying, "I'm open, give me the ball." That's not what it was. It was like, listen, if I'm not going to be used, then trade me to someone that's going to use me. Because if you look at it a year prior, they used him a lot. And you should be using all the receivers, not just one. You shouldn't be creating an offense where it's around like, oh, certain plays will get it to you. Like it should, and this could be also on Zach Wilson too. Like maybe Zach Wilson is just tunnel visioned on certain guys in certain plays where it's excluding Elijah Moore. So, I could understand Elijah Moore's frustration. Like, if you're not being utilized at all, and that's what's really happening, what's the problem? Is it the quarterback? Is it the offense? I don't know. But listen, and maturity does come into it. But I think all in all, like, maybe they had a conversation before the trade deadline and said, listen, Elijah, listen, we're going to work with you. We don't want to trade you. We want you to stay a part of this football team. We're going to utilize you going forward. It's just maybe it was because you came back from injury, so they didn't want to kind of give him the ball too much and put too much stress on him or whatever. But let's see what happens going forward.
Yeah, I just don't like the trend that you see with some of this stuff. It's much like the NBA, I think, where if you're all of a sudden you're not happy, I want to demand a trade, I want out all the time. You know what I mean? Because I see what I don't want it to turn into the NBA. You know what I mean? Because you see what the NBA is turning into right now, and it's dumb. I hate it. That's why I don't watch it anymore. Because you got a bunch of crybabies that run the whole league. You think Daniel Stern or whoever runs it now, even you don't think he's
not even there.
He's not even there. See, I don't even know. I don't even watch it anymore. So you think they run the league anymore?
No,
the
China
officials?
does.
No, yes,
they sold the NBA to China.
Yeah, and the players demand everything. I don't like this coach anymore. Fire him. Blah, blah, blah. This is the coach I really want. This. I don't feel like playing this anymore. I'm just going to sit out. Or I don't want the NFL to turn into something like that.
I don't think it will.
They're trying to, even with some of the contracts they're trying to do.
No, I mean,
ridiculous.
that's all business.
No, I know, but I don't. The business, I think, for me, ruins it all. You know what I'm saying?
It's part of it.
Well, then you lose me as a fan, probably. Then. You know what I mean?
Okay, good. But this has been going on for decades.
Yeah, I know, but still, when you're trying to do all this stuff, especially with let's make bids on Amazon or Apple to only cover this game and stuff and that. So basically, if I ever even want to watch any of this game, I gotta wait for highlights after it's already over, or I have to have a streaming
have
subscription
that
or some bullshit like that, which is stupid. And I get it, it's not stupid for them because they're going to get their money in their contract or whatever, but I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to do that, so I guess I don't watch it. But, I mean, it's terrible that you do this, to your fans out there that just want to watch and just hang out. And then they're going to spend the money when they go to the games, buy merchandise, this and that. But you're forcing me that I have to the only way I can watch it is this one spot. Like, give me a break.
There's plenty of streaming services where you can still watch it.
Not certain games?
Yeah, all games.
No.
Yep.
Like what?
Fire Stick.
Like Fire Stick, what if you jailbreak it?
Yeah.
Well, that's
and
different.
There's also
I don't
and there's also
in illegals.
And there's
things,
also
Joe.
websites where you can stream and there's also websites where you can stream the game for free. So
all right, yeah, maybe legally or no?
Yeah.
That's
why it's a website. It's not shut down.
All right, then maybe I'll have to find that website then, and then maybe they won't lose me as a fan.
Because
that website's probably not making the money. They're not paying the bill that Apple is then now, so that's good for them.
But
I guess
listen, they make enough money as it is. When you use these streaming websites, though, it's just the feed. You're just tapping into the television feed. That's it.
All right. Well, let me tell you guys. Joe's going to tell you guys about tapping into something amazing.
Let me tell you about something that Joe's going to tell you about.
Joe's going to tell you about. That's right. Tell him, Joe.
Mohawkanda. Our buddies down at Mohawkanda. Listen, it's we're into that fall, kind of cool-ish. But I'll tell you right now, I'm not feeling the cold yet.
Yeah, right. We're not here.
It's absolutely amazing that it's still kind of like a warm climate at this time of the season. So, listen, it's supposed to be cold, but people are getting all hopped up They've done their apple picking. Now we're getting around to where Thanksgiving's getting closer. You know, people are making pumpkin muffins. You see the beautiful foliage outside. Just like that, boom, here we are. The seasons may change, but one constant is the buying experience at Mohawk Honda, where you are greeted with a smile and treated with respect. These people are great down there with staff at Mohawk Honda. New vehicle inventory is ramping up with pilots, passports, and Ridgelines. Remember, this is the best time ever to sell your vehicle. They buy cars, and in some cases, you may be able to get more value than what you paid for it. It's just another advantage you get from the #1 volume dealer in the capital region. Not to mention, General Manager Greg Johnson and his team of sales consultants are always available and ready to help you guys out there with the buying process. And they have some big, huge news for you that they all want you to know about. Scott Moynihan is back at Mohawk Honda and has 30-plus years of automotive experience with him. Stop in. Welcome Scott back to Mohawk Honda. And yes, the season's changed, but at Mohawk Honda on Freeman's Bridge Road in Scotia, they go out of their way to please you.
That's right. And I don't think it's technically Scotia. It's probably Glenville still, but
well, we're going
it
with
is
what
what it
the
is,
read
but
is.
that's what they say, you know. But there you go, Mohawk Honda. They do go out of their way to please you. I really like the experience there, even with service too. You can do everything online. Don't have to talk to anybody, and when you do, they're really nice. They're super there to help you out, and they seem like they love their job too, Joe.
I'm all out of race.
There you go. I'm almost done, too. I'm cameraing this pretty good. All right, so there you go. We have a lot of trade talk, a lot of different things going on. We'll see what happens with the season as it moves forward, Joe, but we still have the picks competition going on, Joe. Here we are with the standings right now. I was only able to gain one on you last week, so the tie that's been happening for the past 2 weeks is now broken, and it's only by one, and still we are above 500, so we're doing better than what Mike Taka has been doing still. So we're looking good in that aspect, but still down to what we usually do around this time of the year. But they talk about parity throughout the season. We've seen it a lot this season so far, and then week to week, it's been really tough to get some of these games because even the fourth quarter comebacks, everything else, injuries on top of stuff, teams who you thought there was something, their identity changes within a week, like you don't know. So it's all over the map, Joe, but it's super exciting. Parity at its finest here for the NFL, and it's just tough to pick some of these teams when you have to go straight up and you're not doing point spreads. That's the thing about us, too. We don't do the point spreads.
I mean, even with point spreads, it's difficult, too. But I will say this. I mean, parity this year cannot be truer. It is absolutely amazing this season for close games to happen. The league average point margin is the lowest it's been in 90 years. It's been an incredible ride because every single game is close. There's not too many blowouts. I think there's only been a couple this season, but everything has been really close, and it makes it more exciting as a fan. You're on the edge of your seat all the way down to the last minute. You know what I mean? It's almost like almost every game is like the team with the ball last has that last opportunity to drive down and score and win.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting for football fans.
Absolutely. So, all right, let's get it going here. The week picks, here we go. By the way, the competition, we were talking about it here. I actually have the glass here. So this is what the loser will be drinking full of alcohol at the end of the season, right after the Super Bowl. That's a fun show. All right, so let's get to it. Tomorrow night, Thursday night's game, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Houston Texans. We just talked about the Texans here and how disgruntled Brandon Cooks is. But Philadelphia, they ended up pulling up that trade we talked about before with the Robert Quinn stuff, adding more to that defense. So they're even more deadlier than they were. So this is a scary team right now, still undefeated. How funny would it be if all of a sudden the team that they do lose to is the Houston Texans, who they've been playing teams really
crazy.
tough. Yeah, especially even at home. This is like still fight to the death type of team. But as far as the way I'm looking at it right now, Philadelphia, they're just rocking and rolling here, keeping that machine turning. I see them coming out here with a win still.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing, too, is like Brandon Cooks so badly wanted to be traded away, but guess what? Financially, the Houston can't do it. If they were to trade Brandon Cooks, it's a big penalty for them to trade him this year. Actually, what's more likely is next year. Next year, they can really get some cap space. So watch for that to happen next season. But for the Eagles, they've been flying high. They've been killing it this season. And I'll tell you right now, I expected the Eagles to be good. I think we both did.
Yeah.
With the roster that they put together, but I didn't know they were going to be this good. They are undefeated, up to this point, and they have an opponent they should beat. But Houston is a very stingy team. I don't understand how their defense is because they give up a lot in yards on defense, but it seems like they're one of the better red zone defenses, which is kind of crazy. Houston offensively is going to have to try to play keep up with the Eagles if they want to stay in this game. The Eagles, on the other hand, though, I just feel like they have way too many more advantages, a better roster, and they're playing incredibly well. Jalen Hurts has taken a huge step forward as a quarterback. This offense is really kind of humming and moving along. So I'm going to go with the Eagles as well.
All right, here we go. We've got the Los Angeles Chargers and the Atlanta Falcons. Chargers again, reeling. Man, that one didn't work for you. Bummer.
Nope, it's dead.
Damn. All right, here we go. The Chargers and the
Just
Atlanta
like
Falcons.
Houston.
Falcons have been playing a rough game, doing pretty good. They barely come out with a win last week just because even a couple missed field goals, I think, was what they were able to pull out there. But played tough, but I think I still like the Chargers' chances in this one. I'm going to go with them.
Yeah, Chargers, and this is another team that's kind of getting beaten up by injuries. And surprisingly, Atlanta has been playing really well for the scale of talent that they have. It's tricky because there's some weeks where Kyle Pitts is like non-existent on that offense, and Drake London is taking over, and then it's just really weird to me how this team works. But they're able to do it in a way where not only are they in games, but they're at the cusp of beating their rivals like the Buccaneers in one hell of a close game. And it's like they are right there to the point where they just need a few more pieces and they could be dangerous. The Chargers, with the injuries that they're incurring, and the coaching decisions. I mean, what gives with this team? Going for it on fourth down, you still haven't learned your lesson.
No.
Brandon, what are you doing?
Well, that's the thing. Those guys won't learn their lesson. They think they're right all the time. They're going to go with it. They're going to still go with it. You can't change his mind.
Yeah, so for me, for this game, because Atlanta is home, I'm actually going to go with the Falcons on this one.
There you go, Falcons. There you go. The Miami Dolphins at the Chicago Bears here. Here we go. Miami and Chicago, two teams that made trades.
Yeah, big trade.
So let's see what happens if they had any of that. We'll go forth and help them out here. What's funny thing is when people, I think it was Paul Matty that said he was surprised about the trade there with
Chase Claypool.
Chase Claypool is they talked about some players that weren't even showing up to practice or whatever, that were not going to practice that day, that you thought maybe were going to get traded. Chase Claypool actually practiced and everything that day. It was all set, and then went back to the locker room and said, oh, by the way, clean out your locker. You're traded now. So I imagine that. Like after a hard day's practice with the team, they're like, oh, now I've got to leave now. All right, here we go. Okay. I guess I'm not here anymore. But here you go. The Bears at home, they usually play tough here too, but they've lost a few now on the defensive side. The offense have been putting up some more points, but I don't think it's enough here. Still, Miami has been playing really red hot. I think I'm going to go with the Dolphins on this one.
Yeah, and the Dolphins are the healthier team. I know I know if you look at the injury report, it looks like a laundry list, but a lot of it is they're just resting some of their players leading up to this matchup. And Chicago, I'm sorry, man. You just traded away like one of the best linebackers in football. You traded away, Robert Quinn, who is definitely one of the best pass rushers, even at his age.
Right.
So it looks like you're subtracting that talent to the point where it's going to make it harder to be competitive. I like Miami in this one going into Chicago.
All right, here we got the Carolina Panthers and the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati, again, blowing it here on Monday night. And Carolina really putting some points out there. What's going on? It's like, again, addition by subtraction, Joe. I mean, this is what we look at sometimes. This is the interesting things about life. You see what they lose, and you're like, but they're winning now without it, or just playing better, putting up points. P.J. Walker, how about that bomb that he threw, man, right down to at the goal line? Holy moly, dude.
All I got to say is, DJ Moore has been non-existent in that offense. And some people might say, oh, well, because Baker's not throwing it to him. When Baker was leading the charge, it seemed awfully weird how DJ Moore, your number one wide receiver, is not getting the ball enough. And now with P.J. Walker in there, you can see that he's looking for him all the time because why wouldn't you? He's your best weapon. Get him involved. And because of that, you're starting to see the Panthers kind of do some things. And they're winning some, and they won a couple games that way. So Carolina coming off hot, going into Cincinnati. Will it be enough? We don't know. No Jamar Chase, though. We have to, now that we know that this is official.
How about that, Joe?
It's so different. That offense, I don't understand why one man, and don't get me wrong, Jamar Chase is a gifted player. He is one of the better receivers in the league. But you would think with all these other weapons that they have, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Hayden Hurst at tight end, Joe Mixon in the backfield, what's the problem? You still got weapons. It's not like Jamar Chase is your only guy. So I'm a little confused on what happened last week with Cincinnati. And you had a stat that, whenever they play in primetime games,
yeah,
they're
0-12.
winless.
Yeah, yes.
They can't win.
Right.
They just sustained, what was it, their 13th loss?
13th, yes.
Oh my God, this is crazy. Cincinnati, you got to change that.
So the good thing for them is they're not in prime time now.
It's a 1 o'clock game.
They're at home in the jungle. So I mean, what do you think on this one?
I'm gonna go with the Bengals on this one. I'm looking for them to kind of play redemption song here and get a win over Carolina.
I'm going to do the same thing too. I'm hoping that that's what's going to happen here for them, and I'm looking for that. But stranger things have happened, and who knows what we're going to see out of Carolina. All right, the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. Who would have ever thought that this is going to be just a tight, close game? Because you don't know what the hell's going to happen here. They're fighting to stay out of the basement here. These two teams, you would think. The Green Bay Packers, if anything, and we've been saying this the past 3 weeks, probably,
God.
Joe.
Oh,
is
my
this
God.
the game that can knock them out of the their what they've been, their slump? Break the slump here. Aaron Rodgers, down in the dumps again, but still pointing the fingers at other people.
Jesus.
Getting upset with everybody else. He has that come on, man look. Like it looks like he peers right into the camera after like an incomplete pass, just like, and things like that. Just mistakes over and over again. But the Packers, they're just something off there. They just don't look very good. And the Lions, they fight every single time. They claw their way to try and get some stuff, but just come up short. Just trying to get healthy, too. And they did a little better last week, but still not enough. At home, they're going to play good against the Green Bay Packers. I think even, too, the thing about this Packers team is once people found out, too, that even they're not as that Packer team, like, oh, these guys are a threat, they kind of, people go at them more. And it's like one of those teams like, we're not afraid of these guys. Let's just go. And then they're just not threatened by them anymore. It's almost like the way Tiger Woods had his downfall a little bit. Now golfers in the PGA are like, well, I'm not really intimidated by Tiger Woods anymore. People aren't really intimidated by Aaron Rodgers anymore.
No, and the biggest thing is, I know one player doesn't make a team, but that loss of Devontae Adams on that offense is so dramatically huge. Like it's catastrophic even for Green Bay,
And then
because
compounded when you don't get an Allen Lazard in there,
here's
too,
the
being
thing
healthy.
is when that's what the threat was is you had Aaron Jones, you had AJ Dillon in the backfield, but then you had Devontae that would take double coverage, and that kind of takes away from the defense for the other receivers that were there, like Randall Cobb and what have you. But now, I think if Adams was still there, that it would greatly improve this offense, because they would still have gotten Romeo Doubs. They still would have drafted. Hopefully, they would have drafted Christian Watson. But the crazy thing is that Romeo Doubs is making way more of an impact on that offense than Watson. And Watson, I know that he's sustained a concussion. Don't know if he's going to be able to play this week. Along with and this has kind of been the whole ordeal with Green Bay's. So far this season, their offensive line is not healthy. Yeah. It's constantly being banged up. And their best player, David Bakhtiari, has been out of the lineup more than he's been in it. This week is also a concern. He didn't practice Wednesday. What's the chances that he will make a return? Elton Jenkins, who was a right tackle, didn't play last week. Is he going to make a return? So because of this revolving door of your starters not being able to play on the O-line, that protection breaks down a lot sooner. Yeah. And Aaron Rodgers is honestly not used to that. He's used to having good protection. He's used to being able to get rid of the ball and creating more time. He's struggling to do that right now. And as good as the Packers' defense has been playing, the offense can't match it. So Green Bay going into Detroit, this is going to be a really close game right down to the end. The Lions, just like Jim said too, Lions have been playing really well. Their offense is getting healthier, and you can see that as of last week. Detroit's defense is playing better. They still got a little bit ways to go in terms of turning that all the way around. But I don't know, man. it's tough for me. With all these injuries on the offensive line, I think I'm going to have to go with Detroit on this one.
All right, Joe's going with Detroit. Again, yeah, same thing. I'm kind of feeling you on that one here, too, the way that Detroit has been playing. But I'm really banking on maybe they can get out of this slump, even though the injuries here. I mean,
Yeah.
Detroit's still sitting there with only one victory. So I think this is their best opportunity. So I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers here to try and sort things out. The Colts now and the New England Patriots here. The Colts, Patriots, two teams that, again, are just like in disarray, all over the place. Colts, you're hearing about maybe – they already fired their offensive coordinator. He's gone. So – what
They
does that
pointed
tell
the
you?
blame.
Well, this is what I mean. The blame game has started.
Right.
It is on. Now you know they benched Matt Ryan, so that's step one.
Yep.
Like, there's a thing. You see this. It's like part of addiction and things like that. You see the first steps. Step one, teams were doing bad. Step one, quarterback's bench. Boom, we're doing this guy, this young guy, Sam Ellinger, who actually played fairly well, had an opportunity to win that game in the end, just couldn't get it done last week. It was a tight one, but. All right, step two. It must be the offense coordinator then. Let's fire him first. Boom. Nope. And if they still stink, they're coming for the head coach. He's going to be next. He's usually the last hammer to drop, and then this is what we might be seeing here with Frank Reich being gone here for these guys.
Well,
Patriots.
I don't think Frank Reich will be going after this year because here's the thing, and this is kind of like he's playing damage control because he's already made the decision. He didn't stick with Matt Ryan. That's a good thing for him because he's like, I recognize the problem. It's not getting any better. Matt, even with your injury, you're out. We gotta make a change. We gotta do something different. Sam, you're in, and Sam actually played really well. Sam Ellinger last week, he actually looked pretty good and was making some plays that Matt Ryan just hasn't, to be honest. So that's encouraging for the Colts. Offensively, they looked a lot better. They looked more fresh on the football field. They were moving the ball. They scored some points. Didn't do enough, but you saw something. At least you saw something. So that's going to kind of help Frank Reich stay as a head coach because he's making the right decision there. And honestly, they just really need to draft one. They got to stop playing games with trading for veteran quarterbacks and kind of taking on these huge contracts. It's time to really get serious and find the new franchise of the Colts. So for the Colts coming into this game, they're a little banged up. I'm not crazy about their offensive line either.
Yeah.
Their offensive line has been giving up a lot of pressure, and that's kind of leading to some of these turnovers and to some of these poor decision making. But Sam kind of held it together last week. Defensively, they're healthier. The Colts are. Darius Leonard made a return last week, so that's a big encouraging sign for the Patriots. They're coming into this game, even though it's middle of the season, completely healthy. It's insane. The guys are getting enough rest. Guys are just staying healthy on this football team, and they're coming together as one.
Right.
We've seen this defense transform over week one to now to being a very good defense once again with all these young players. And then offensively, I don't care who's in a quarterback. I don't care if Mac Jones is in a quarterback, which that's who's the starter, by the way. And, I don't care if they change quarterbacks in between halftime. They're the same guys. So Patriots also on offense are looking better. They're starting to look more like themselves. So with the Patriots being healthier and kind of the weak spots that the Colts, bring into this game, I'm going to stick with New England at home.
I'm going to do the same thing, too, same sort of reasons. And it was funny, too, with the Patriots. You heard some rumors about some of the guys that they were willing to trade. Damian Harris possibly on the block.
Yep.
Kendrick Bourne, too.
He was out.
Things like that.
They all were out
Yeah,
there.
out
They
there,
had calls, too. They had calls, too.
But they all stayed together again, and now everybody's healthy here, too. And, they just play better at home, too. And, again, I kind of trust Belichick and what they're doing here still, despite what I've kind of seen with the Colts, where it's still a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of deal. The Buffalo Bills now and the Jets here. If the Jets come out with a win last week, I think this game's a little more intriguing. Yeah. But the way the Jets, were playing again, the way the defense and Sauce Gardner, maybe they could put some pressure here, and because sometimes with Josh Allen last week, there were times where, again, they had that game in hand. But then at certain drives that they were doing, it seemed like Josh Allen was really just getting rammy with the ball and kind of forcing a lot of different throws. And it's like, dude, we've seen you be calm before. Take the checkdowns or take whatever they have. But now you're forcing it for some reason, some of these. It turns into a 3-and-out or a turnover. And it's kind of like, dude, it's like almost like he turned the switch off or something for some reason. It's very strange at times. But the Bills, what they have been doing more often than not this year, has been really putting the foot on people's throats, like what the Chiefs used to do, the Patriots used to do, and put teams out. And unfortunately for the Jets and the Meadowlands, I think that's going to happen this one. They're going to give them a chokehold, stomp their foot on their neck, and just put them out in this one.
I think the biggest difference for this game is, I would say that if they had a healthy offensive line, the Jets did, then it would have made it for an interesting game. But because they're coming into this matchup with really a lack of proven offensive linemen, and you have to go up against one of the best teams in the league, I mean, that's not a recipe for a win or even to be competitive. The Bills are coming in very, very deep on the roster. They made a trade with Nyheim, not adding another potent type of running back in Nyheim Hines. I just think it's Bills all day long.
All right, next we got the Vikings and the Commanders. Vikings coming off of a bye week. And the Commanders, again, looking better under Heineke, Joe. We said it. And I don't think if Carson Wentz was in that game last week, I don't think
They don't
he's
win.
making that drive
They don't win.
down to
They don't win.
that game. You saw the
don't
power
win.
behind it all. You saw Terry McLaurin get super amped up. He was amped up, Joe, ready to go. And he's again loving Heineke right there. They were tight right there. He gets the game go ahead and touchdown, and boom, there he is. He's their quarterback. He was before. I don't know why. Again, they went and got Carson Wentz. He's not very liked in the locker room and stuff. And you already had your guy there that was fitting, that was getting these guys behind him and getting this offense going. And it shows right here, 2 weeks in a row, they're going to be playing here at home against the Vikings team again that looks really ready to go to. Now a new addition of T.J. Hawkinson for Kirk Cousins. Good thing it's not in prime time because I think the Vikings will lose if that happens there. But because Kirk Cousins doesn't perform there either as well. But Vikings, I think I still like their chances here in this one against the Commanders, just because the Commanders are, the talent's just not there altogether. But I wouldn't be surprised if with Heineke they really give them a run for their money.
Yeah, another thing that happened before the trade deadline is the Commanders did trade away William Jackson, the third, their starting corner, who was still kind of a little beat up and was just about to come back from injury. And they've been able to play relatively well on defense without him. So not too much of a loss there for them. Minnesota has been on a tear lately. Let's just say what it is. The offense has been playing at an all-time high. With this, even with the new coaching staff, this is what I'm kind of more amazed about is their new coaching staff. Formerly Rams offensive coordinator comes down to Minnesota and kind of implements this new offensive philosophy, which seems to be working really well for Kirk Cousins as well. And surprisingly enough, the Vikings defense that I thought was going to be a little bit of a weakness is actually a strength, playing at a high level. And for Washington, I love Taylor Heineke. I love what he's going to be able to do for this offense. And the Commanders' defense is kind of feeding off of that success. Anytime they're able to get a drive and score a touchdown or get some points on the board, they seem to respond very well. But Minnesota coming into town, this is going to be a tough matchup for both teams, but I'm going to go with the Vikings as well.
All right, again, we got the Raiders and the Jaguars here. The Jags at home. The Raiders, again, just not getting it done here. And is it, again, just as Josh McDaniels is just not cut out to be a head coach or something like that? Because it's tough because you saw some of the personnel that the guy, we saw Hunter Renfrow was involved in the offense and playing the way he was last year. You still have Josh Jacobs back there. Again, then you add Devontae Adams. It looked like in that offseason where Aaron Rodgers was like, hey, I'm going to stick around here in Green Bay and do my thing here. Devontae, you go on there and reunite with your bro, and then you're going to have success there. And both have just had shitty times. You know what I mean? They're just falling on really rough times here for them. I feel
Honestly,
bad for Devontae here, but
I don't
it's
know.
tough here for
I
the
do not
Raiders.
know how you cannot have a successful offense with these players
Right.
that they have. Darren Waller, I understand he's been injured and hasn't been there for a couple weeks, but Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller. Now remember, last season they made the playoffs on a very late run. They made the playoffs with basically no Waller, with no real number one, with just Hunter Renfrow there and Josh Jacobs. Now they have a plethora of weapons. I mean, you got to bring up Matt Collins, too, who's been playing well for them, too. But you got Devontae Adams now. You got Darren Waller. You got Hunter Renfrow. You got Matt Collins, who's kind of coming to his own. You got more weapons how are you not scoring points? How are you not winning these games? So it's got to come down to coaching, because if you think about it, with Gruden's offense when he was the head coach, what they were able to accomplish, and now you have more weapons and you just can't get it done. That's insane to me. I understand it's a new philosophy, new defensive philosophy and all that, but other teams like the Giants, the Vikings, they got new staffs. They got new offenses, new defenses implemented, but look at the success
They're doing
having.
more with less, yeah.
So to me, it's got to be coaching, right? It has to be the point. The finger's being pointed right now. It's got to be coaching, and until I feel like something changes or gets, kind of, get a little bit more aggressive. I don't know what it is, but they're falling apart at the seams right now.
All right. So I take it you're going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Yeah, I like the Jaguars better
There,
because it's
boom.
East Coast.
There you go. I like it too. Same thing. Same reasons too as well. I've lost all faith in the Raiders too. I tried to get behind them and stick behind my pick, but it just looks terrible right now. And again, like you said, the way they travel here to the East Coast doesn't usually work out for them. And the Jags, I'm really liking what they were doing every week there. They're still in all these games here too.
I have to say something.
You know?
I am not a huge fan of Trevor Lawrence anymore.
Yeah.
I thought this guy was going to be the difference maker for Jacksonville. And I understand he's still got maybe another year to kind of prove himself, but I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing he's making poor throws. He's and to guys that are open. Like, it's insane. I just don't know what's going on with Trevor Lawrence. And until Trevor Lawrence gets better as a quarterback all around, I don't think this team is going to be very dangerous. We all know that the Jaguars' young defense that they put together is pretty good. Like, we've seen how good this defense can be when it's firing on all cylinders. But when you don't have your offense who's scoring points either, it kind of makes it tough to win games. So until Trevor Lawrence improves his game, I feel like the Jaguars are also on the ropes.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
All right, we've got Lawrence Elliott in the house with us tonight, Joe.
What's going on, Lawrence?
is in the house with us here. Who Dat Nation?
Yeah,
There you go.
remember,
There he is.
Lawrence is not only is he a Saints fan, but also we had him join us live on location at Saki Japanese Steakhouse in Latham. And Lawrence is part of the, I'm just going to forget it right now, IBTE Network, IBTE.com. Go check them out. Very cool show. Like, they got a bunch of dudes on that show and everything that they do with their podcast. And honestly, their network as well, they cover they have a lot of different style of podcasts. So if you're like into like a variety of podcasts or shows or what have you, they have different ones. Like, I don't know, like they have like, maybe they like have a fashion one, they got a sports one. So like Lawrence is part of like the sports group or whatever. But it's pretty cool.
Really
like,
nice.
you gotta check them out.
Excellent. Definitely. Pleasure having you here with us, too. We're just doing our picks right now, too, so if you want to join in, you can go ahead with that, too. We got the Seahawks now and the Cardinals. Again, Seahawks flying high here, looking really good. Cardinals look like a disaster. Again, a lot of different injuries here and there, too, for them. And the Seahawks, again, just getting it done with what they have here, and it really so much so that there was the meme going out this week that's saying that that the Broncos were willing to trade Russell Wilson back to the Seahawks for Geno Smith. I mean, how funny is that, dude? I mean, that's
pretty
hilarious,
good.
right?
That's pretty good.
But I don't know. There's something that's telling me in this one that I think the Cardinals find a way here at home to still pull out a victory here against the Seahawks. That it's nice what the Seahawks have been doing, and yes, they're playing well, but I don't know. Something's telling me in this one I think the Cardinals can pull out a victory here in this one. This week.
I really like what Seattle's doing lately. I mean, Geno Smith has surprised the hell out of me this year, and he's playing at a very high level. I mean, I never thought that Geno Smith was good. Not only, one, become a starter once again, but two, to play better than he ever has. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's like the offense fits him perfectly. I don't know if it's just like all the work it's got to be all the work he's put into this offseason to try to become that starter that Seattle needed. So and to be honest, it's decision making. He's definitely greatly improved his decision making, knowing where to go with the football when he's in trouble, knowing when to run and utilize his legs, knowing when to throw the ball. So Seattle's offense is actually, they're taking off. They're doing a very good job, and in the emergence of Kenneth Walker III, the rookie running back, really kind of taking the ball and saying, "Hey, this is my team now. I'm taking over. So has definitely made his name be known. And then Seattle's young defense that's surprisingly good. We're kind of uncertain of what we were going to see defensively, but I know one thing. The Seattle Seahawks know how to find young talent defensively. That's what they've been really good at. And they took one of my favorite corners, I was really hoping my team would take him, but Tariq Woolen. Tariq Woolen is soaring high as a corner. Like, he's really kind of taking on this personified Seattle hysteria that is the Seahawks. So he's been a grinder. He's been lining up with whoever, you know what I mean, and kind of taking them head on and doing a very good job at it. So great improvement all around for Seattle Seahawks. And Arizona, this is a team that we kind of thought that we were going to see the Arizona Cardinals of the 12-5 season. We thought that Kyler Murray, you know, when he did get DeAndre Hopkins back, and they were just going to like just destroy people offensively and defensively. We thought that with the young defense that they had, they played good down the stretch last season. They were going to return and they were going to be a very stingy defense. None of that happened. Nope. None of that happened at all. Instead, we're seeing offensive linemen fall like flies in terms of injury. We're seeing Kyler Murray make some bad decisions. We're seeing without Hopkins, there is no offense. So I guess the good thing is that now that he's back, you're starting to see that influx of progress on the offensive side of the ball. And Arizona is now starting to they're taking a step forward on defense. They're not good yet, but they're getting better with every single week. So I would say in this game, I'm still kind of going to ride with the Seattle Seahawks.
All right. Wow. All right, here we go. We got the Los Angeles Rams and the Bucks. Again, I think the NFL thought when this one came up too, this was going to be like the 4 p.m. Like big game of the week. But again, both teams. It was making it interesting though for me to watch now is they're both struggling, and so they both need a win, and which one is going to get it? Will they tie? Well, I mean, like this is what I mean. I mean, because again, both offensive lines suck. You know what I mean? And so both quarterbacks have been, you know, not exactly doing terrible, but really running for their lives, not being able to get things done. And the Rams just because of the offensive lines, and Matthew Stafford just making the poor throws, being pressured and getting sacked, making mistakes, and not really getting that running game going too that helped to get them going. So much so that you heard about them maybe pulling off a trade for a running back too as well that never happened too. But you know, there's talks that maybe they were going to go try and get a Kareem Hunt possibly and help them out. You know,
there was also talks about their own Cam Akers being dealt and trading away.
Part of that, yes.
But then we heard a report later on. They're like, oh no, well, they want to keep him and they want to re-sign him to a long-term deal. So. Really confused what's happening.
Yeah, too many smoke screens going on here. But again, and you've seen the difference with not someone having some of those guys that they had on last year's roster for that Super Bowl run, making a big difference here for them. And the Bucks, again, injuries a little bit here, but really the offense still, despite the offensive line, you still have Leonard Fournette, you still have Chris Godwin, you still have Mike Evans, and the fact that they're not on the same page or making mistakes and different reads with each other is very confusing to me. Like, I don't get how you've played with Mike Evans for the past 3 years and stuff, and all of a sudden, you know, you're throwing the ball to a certain area where you're expecting him to be, and he's not on that same page as you. It's like, what's going on there? I just don't get it. I don't know if it's just frustration out of Brady, and he's kind of trying to get it to where it needs to be, and he's thinking a certain thing, and then Evans just like, oh, I'm here, but I didn't know you're going to get pressured that quick, so I wasn't able to read that and get there. Like, I don't know what it is.
That's really what it's miscommunication. It's Mike Evans not reading the same thing as Brady.
What's going right there
and I would put, honestly, I would put more of the blame on the receiver than the quarterback, because in this case, because it's Tom Brady. Tom Brady is smart as hell.
Right.
So he knows every facet of this offense. So if there's a mistake or a miscommunication, it's got to be on the receiver. Maybe not always, but more times than not, it's on Mike Evans. And let's just say, Mike Evans is not playing very well. He's not. He's dropped balls wide open.
Right.
So I don't know if it's whenever that happens, especially with a really good receiver, it's a focus thing. It's not being focused on the catch and making sure that you get it. So I don't know what's going on with Evans upstairs or maybe outside of football, but it's definitely affecting him on the football field. And until that gets resolved, you're going to see him continually make bad decisions and miscues in terms of catching.
For me here, looking at this game though too, I don't know. Did they make a decision on Cooper Kupp and what's going on with
There's
his injury?
no.
Stuff
I don't
like
have
that?
anything
so it's
on
tough
the Rams.
because that's tough if they lose him because the Rams really look like terrible with even out him. But despite that, even too with the Bucs being at home, I think they could still get it done because with the wide receiver core that they do have, and again, you still got Leonard Fournette back there too. I mean, run the ball. I mean, you could do things. I think the Bucs have a better chance of pulling out of here with a victory. So I'm going to go with the Bucs on this one.
Yeah, that's what makes it tough for us to make
Yeah.
picks is we're getting injury reports for just today.
Yeah.
We
We'll
have
find
no
out.
idea what's going to change for the next 2-3 days. 2-3 days.
Yeah.
I just listen. Both offensive lines are not playing very well. I feel like the Buccaneers O line is kind of a little bit more beat up than the Rams, and I like the Rams defense better than the Buccaneers defense. So I'm going to go with the Rams on this one.
All right.
Whether they're with Cooper Kupp or not, I'm looking for the tight end to get more involved. I'm looking for Allen Robinson to get more involved. I mean, honestly, something's got to be figured out with the Rams because we've seen a very different Rams team offensively this year. It's not because he changed coaches. It's not because they don't have a different quarterback. It's not because, I don't know what's going on. I think it's because of play calling, and to be honest, I think some games it looks like Sean McVay might be trying to run the ball too much, or some games that he's trying to throw the ball too much. So until he kind of gets a balance, I feel like that's what's kind of make it, let alone the offensive line issues, but that's kind of like what's tripping them up a little bit on the offense.
Right. I think with some of these guys, they're like, you talk about too, he can remember a play from a game from 12 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So you talk about these
In the
guys
fourth
that
quarter,
are very cerebral.
with 8 minutes left.
So then when they're calling a game, I think sometimes they don't take a step back and look at the game and what's happening around them. I think too much they want to push what they want to do in the game more than really taking what the teams give you and adjusting to what is being played out in front of you. You know what I mean? Kind of push their scheme or whatever that might be and what they want to try and accomplish more than reacting to what's going on in their environment. So I think sometimes you're too smart for their own good, I think, sometimes with that. You know what I mean? Or they think they're
Or they
gonna be
overthink
right.
it.
They overthink it. Yeah, exactly. Like he
Keep
did
it
in the
simple.
Super Bowl.
Sean, keep it simple.
Keep it simple. There you go. The Titans now and the Chiefs here on Sunday Night Football. That should be a pretty good game. Now we're
I'm
seeing
excited.
now the Titans are playing what we've known them to be now the last couple of years here. Mike Vrabel getting further on into these games and getting closer to the playoff time.
Yeah.
And he's dangerous when it hits playoff time too as well. I really like him as a coach. You got to say, out of Bill Belichick's coaching tree and things like that, he's got to be probably the most successful to leave that franchise at this point here and what he's been able to do with the Titans, even out coaching Bill Belichick in the playoffs. So I really like what they do here. They're getting a chemistry together with everybody. And the Chiefs, they're getting it done too. The big question with them in the beginning of the season is like, oh, without Tyreek Hill, how are you going to do? Well, they're starting to do well, and I think they're starting to mix in Juju Smith-Schuster a little more into plays too. And early on in the season, you didn't really see it.
They're
as
utilizing
much,
all the
but
receivers.
That's what I mean. They're spreading it
Yeah.
around, and now that they've even got like a Kadarius Toney in the that they can move around and switch around too. It's just another tool in their whole Swiss Army knife of an offense that they have here too. So I'm interested to see where he might play with these guys now that he's miraculously healthy.
Yeah, I don't think he'll. I don't think he'll play, honestly,
But,
because he hasn't learned the offense yet.
Yeah.
And Andy Reid came out and said, "I'm not rushing him to
rushing
get
him
into
in.
the lineup."
But so here we go. The Chiefs at home, though, but they played so much better here at home with that crowd that's really gotten behind them here. So I think that might be part of the difference maker here.
Yeah, it could be.
Because even the Titans still, no matter what they've even how they've been playing, I still think that defense could do better here. So I'm looking to see that. So, but I think I like the Chiefs here at home in this one.
Yeah, this is a defense for the Titans that hasn't played up to par compared to what they did last season. Last season, they were seen as one of the most feared defenses in the league, and this season, they're one of the more defenses that teams want to play because it seems like they're giving up a lot of yards, they're giving up scores, and that doesn't bode well for your offense, which is already struggling to score points. Yeah, if Derrick Henry, you get that kind of train rolling, and he's able to run on this Chiefs defense, that's going to make this game interesting because what do you have to do against a high-scoring offense is you got to eat the clock up, long drives, keep Mahomes and the offense off the field, and score at the end. If Henry's able to run, that's going to kind of be the whole difference in this game. Can the Chiefs stop Derrick Henry? If they can, then obviously we know what the outcome's going to be. But if they can't, that's going to make this real interesting. 'Cause for the Chiefs, they're always extremely tough to play in Kansas City. And with their team, they are another team that is surprisingly still like healthy across the board. They don't have any real major injuries or anything like that, so they're going to be healthy and ready to go. At nighttime, they perform extremely well in the prime time under the lights, so I'm going to go with Kansas City in this one as well.
All right, here we go. And finally, we got Monday night, the Ravens and the Saints. You know, Lawrence's team here, Saints. They're a team that's just week to week too, man. Like, I don't know. I think I jinxed Andy Dalton the one week. He did terrible against the Cardinals. And what do they do this week? They come back and they shut out your Raiders, Joe. Here, I can't believe it. I was mind boggled right here. And Andy Dalton looks great, you know, and everything's happy hunky dory here for the Saints. It's amazing. 29 points, you know, unanswered, bang. And now they face the Ravens team, too, who just traded, you know, for a linebacker here now and trying to help their defense out. But still, seems like they've kind of found their mark here, too, even despite, you know, again, Mark Andrews going out in injuries last week. You know, they still found ways to get the offense going and likely really getting it done. Their young tight end there themselves that's more of a wide receiver type of tight end here. Relying to him is finding another guy that he can count on here to get the offense moving. And getting this, you know, Ravens getting back to Ravens football. Don't put it all on Lamar because, again,
just throw the ball all the time.
Even after when he had the interview and stuff like that, he's like, you know, I'm just trying to prove people still that I'm not just a guy, you know, that just runs and I can still play. But you just show it again because every time you're asked to be called upon to just do it through the pass, you're like, we can't do this. We got to reset. We got to bring back to our bread and butter. We got to run the ball here and get it going. And then that's what they end up doing. And then that's when they take over the game again. This is what happens here. But playing the Saints, I'm still unsure about this Saints team and what we're really getting out of this. I think the Ravens are hitting their stride, like I said. I think I like the Ravens here in prime time.
Yeah, as far as Lamar goes, not saying he's not a quarterback. I'm just saying that you're more of a weapon as a runner than you are a quarterback because we've seen it, just like you mentioned. We've seen it where they try to almost force him to throw the football a lot more. And I know Lamar wants to surprise everybody. I know Lamar wants to be considered a legitimate, really good quarterback. But that's not his game. His game is the deception game. He can run on you when he gets out in the open. He's extremely dangerous as a runner. He's elusive. I mean, he's just amazing with the football in his hands when he gets out in the open. You can make throws, yes. But it's not part of your game to where you can only be the quarterback and only throw the football. It's just not there. But that's what makes you unique. It's not a bad thing. It isn't. Listen, teams have struggled to stop him or slow him down at times because of that ability. So harness it. If they want to call you a running quarterback, let them. Who cares as long as you're winning games? And you're running to another big contract, hopefully. So,
yeah, exactly. That's the one thing they talked about.
Take it. Use it as your advantage. It is what it is. Who cares? Who cares if they consider you a running quarterback? I don't care. You're successful. Who cares? Anyway,
So
I got a little heated up on that. Anyway, so Roquan Smith, big addition for this defense. I love what Baltimore has done so far this offseason, and they're getting back to what they used to do really well. What? Run the ball. Play action off of the run, and they're making it count. Mark Andrews is something to watch for this week because he sustained an injury, left the game last week, which led to Isaiah Likely being on the field full-time. Isaiah Likely is deceptively fast. He is a very fast tight end, and he's hard to keep up with. I look for him. Listen, let Mark Andrews rest because from what we saw last week with Isaiah Likely, he's a dangerous man to deal with. So Baltimore going into New Orleans. New Orleans still isn't healthy. We don't even know if Michael Thomas is playing yet. Could it be another week that they missed? Jarvis Landry is still out. Their quarterback situation is bad right now. Don't really have an answer there. And then what's to say, like, is Marshall Lattimore going to make his debut back from injury? Who knows?
Yeah.
But all that being said, because Saints are not healthy yet, I feel like Baltimore's going to get the upper hand.
Yep, there you go. And there's our picks for the whole picks competition. We got the drink here, too, that we're going to be playing it all out for. I mean, it's going to be an exciting year still, what we've been doing here. We got more live shows lined up for you guys. We're going to announce some in just a little while. But, yeah, man, it was a lot of fun this last weekend. It was weird being in the two because I think right before that we just had a live show at Sake. It seemed like it was right recently, like that Thursday or something like that. It seemed like a short week. Now I know what these like NFL players feel like when they go and they play like on a Sunday and then all of a sudden play on that Thursday. So, but it's exciting, Joe. We get to do more broadcasts live and interact with not only people that are out there, you know, watching us or whatever, or listening, but right there in the crowd and meeting new people. I met the guy that won the autographed football from Dion, and he was super excited. And this is what he said, too. He was there right from the beginning, too, buddy. And he was the first one to put his name into the box, too. And he's just like, I subscribe. Here I am. There it is. And I put my name in. And he's like, I've tried. This is it. That's all you got to do, right? I'm like, that's it, man. That's all you do. Hang out, chill out, have a good time. He's like, all right. And then, boom. And then he's like, I can't believe I won. I won? Really? And I'm like, he's got excited. Got his picture with Dion.
Take a chance.
He got posted to social media. So you guys come to our live shows. Check it out. You have a chance. Maybe you can walk out of there with a jersey, an autograph, whatever. Meet some more stars and enjoy some good games, too, you know?
Yep, and that's the thing is we have some more live events that are coming up around the corner. We're gonna be our next one's at Hooters.
Yeah, ooh, yeah.
I think so. I think our next one's at Hooters. I think it's a Monday night game.
But it's a Monday night game.
Yeah. But yeah, listen. This is what we do on our live events. So if you don't know what we do, like, listen. Obviously, we do our show live on location and all that. But at halftime of the game that we're covering, we do a jersey giveaway. You know, and it's very simple rules. You just got to be there on location with us. You got to show us that you subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you've done so, you enter your name into the box. And then you have to be present to win at halftime. You have to be there. We are not going to chase you. We're not going to call you up and say, hey, you won something, make arrangements to meet up. No, you got to be there to receive the gift and become a know-it-all. I mean, that's what this is all about. We're trying to grow this football community up. If you're new to the show, if you like what you see, head over to YouTube, search us up, Football on the No Show, hit the subscribe button, and while you're there, it's just simple. Like, you just go hit the notification bell, let you guys know when we go live, as well as you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at FB_no. And anywhere you get your podcasts. So if you want to hear our Golden Pipes, you can do that too. We're the most interactive NFL talk show out there, and we're going to prove it to you every single week. You drop a comment down below when we're live. We're going to respond to it. We're going to bring you up. We're going to give you a shout out. So don't be afraid to do that.
Absolutely. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday nights for more Football on the No with Jim and Joe.